Alright, here we go. So, we need a new piece of line. We're going to do our cording next. Blue's still a little cold this morning. Alright, I'm going to start it on this side so it goes all the way across, loops up, and we end over here. Yeah. This isn't going to have a bow on it, so I want it to look as seamless as possible. So if I start my cord, so if I make the separate loop, I start my cord here and I go down and around. But if I start my here, then I come across the top and I do the whole thing and tuck it back here. Because I like to hide all of my spots, my mechanics. Okay. What we're going to do, I like to do a separate loop. Looking for my ruler. Hold on a second. Of course, it's got stuff all over it. So I want to do just like a 2.5 inch drop on a mini stocking. I don't like doing very long. So I'm going to take, where'd that little bit go? Piece of fishing line. I can lay it down at this point because it's not like I'm trying to be exact. Oof, my hands aren't working this morning. I'm sorry. And fishing line is not so easy to pick up, especially in the dry winter months. 2, and yeah, that's still about 2.5. Now, a lot of people don't want to have to take the time to cut these, cut the cording and then recut, and they try to just be as efficient as possible and do it all in one loop, but it actually hangs better when you do a separate hanging loop, because you're not twisting it over and it just hangs nicer. Just making sure that I'm actually recording this. Okay. second part of the loop, we take some glue. I gotta crank it up to high because it's just not hot enough to come out yet. Get it good and get that glue way down in. It holds all of those bits together. Let it cool for a second before. I lick my fingers, I'm sorry, but it keeps the hot glue from sticking to you. You can use a pair of needle nose pliers to clamp down on it, but I really like to get that down in because then I trim this part off. Masking tape will come apart and alright, so I take my dowel needle again because it's, like I said, one of my favorite tools. I find the hole that I made and I look at it and make sure that if I need to trim my glue down a little bit more, which I might, but we're going to try to wheedle it in there as thick as possible. Come on. Okay, fine. Cut a little more of a point on there. See if that'll help it go in. There's just a lot of material right there. I'm trying to keep this in camera and I usually kind of butt it up against myself to hold it next to my body more to keep it where I want it. There we go. Okay, so it's in. So we want to make sure that this isn't twisted in there. We want the loops to hang so it hangs like this when it hangs, right? Okay. All right. So we got those in there. Now I like to take a piece, looking in the trash and on my floor, of sorry, I'm getting a piece of foam core. It's fine there. Okay. I want it about like that. Right. I'm gonna blunt this off, blunt that off. What I'm doing is I'm making a support for inside this. Okay, I want it down just a skosh more so it's not impeding me when I'm stitching. Every single one of these is different size inside, so I don't like keep them necessarily. From time to time you'd think I would, but I don't. So there you go. So that we don't have a ton of cording beginning and ending in this same point, and it's harder to keep our mechanics stitches hidden, I am going to start this cording at this end, which I like using my blocking board when I'm finishing so I can stick my pins in it as I go. And then I don't have a ton of pins to clean up later. There we go. All right, that's stuck right in there. And I'm trying to push the tail of it that way. See, you can see the little bump out of the glued part, because then it's going to lay down flatter. If I kept that glue part right up here by the edge, it might be a little more bulbous, but I think this looks okay. Yeah. So the whole point of this, doing it here, not only to group there, but when it comes across here, the top is going to be one continuous piece, you see, like that. And if I had a bow, I'd probably just start it here, have it come around and end over here. Sometimes that's a nicer seam as well, but this time, because I don't have a bow, I want it to cover up this side of the cording. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Okay. It makes sense in my brain. It might not work out the way I always want, but that's how I do it. So now we're going to sew the cording on. You can see I got a little gap in my seam there. You won't even see it. Actually, it'll probably help keep us tucked down and low. I am going to have to pause for a second. Okay. So I'm going to come up on the material side. I always tend to hold the needlepoint side towards my hand because it allows me to pull to get the material in there. Whoops, and I totally just pulled my glue dot right off the end of my, but there's enough there still to hold it in the fabric and not pull through the fabric. Okay, so I want this thread to be on the back side, not the front side, so that I can bury it into the cording. Sometimes you may see a little hint of it on the back side of the cording, but if you have it on the front side, where you look at it the most often, because of how you hang it, it's distracting. So you're showing your mechanics instead of hiding them. Okay. Grabbing that first row of stitches. Coming up on the back side. Again, I'm used to kind of wedging it against myself. Now I'm twisting as I go because here is my my thread is here, and I'm looking at which twist to put it between. You go back, okay, and up. I always try to make sure that there is a stitch into a corner. All right. My hands are so cold, my ring is twisting all the time. Excuse me while I take that off. All right. Because I want this to cinch down on the corner, because I don't want to see that little bit of white. So I bring it here. Pulls it tight there. And then another one goes here. I think I needed to put some more lotion on my hands, because this material is just slipping right through them. Alright, I want to keep consistent twist length as I go. That's why I keep twisting it as well. Alright. If you just put the needle in the side of the, it's easier to twist it as you go when you can hang it freely. Let it hang freely instead of having it lay on a table. If you were to only grab the needlepoint side and not the fabric side, it'll tend to stay forward like this, and you have to constantly roll it back, and you can see that edge. Okay. Takes me a little longer just because I'm not holding it the way I usually do, and so you can see it better. If when you pull your needle through, it kind of distorts your needle point, like this, how I'm jacking it around right there. Just after you get it taut, just kind of straighten it back out to make sure you don't have any puckering that you don't want. I'm not comfortable on something like this doing a glued twist. There are a lot of people that glue cording on, but when it's soft and malleable, as this can tend to be, I don't like doing it because it just, for longevity's sake, I just feel like you're taking a chance that over the years, it's going to soften and weaken, and even though the fabric glue that I use is acid free, if I, use it on cording, which when it comes to professionally for customers, I don't do that, but sometimes you have no choice but to use a glue on something, whether it's for like my stand-up brick covers that I designed. Sometimes I need to use it to get it to lay flat on the mount board, whether it is the material on the back for tacking down purposes or things like that, which someday I guess I'll make a video on that. Even if it's just so professional finishers can see how I how I do those. Okay, let's make sure our back side's looking okay. Yep, it's looking okay. Okay. Now I had a little I'm gonna put this here like this. Alright. Pulling it in. I'm going to take this and I want to pull it, put my needle in way over on the back side of that piece of needlepoint. I'm going to get this up through the lining. On corners, you want to make sure to try to double tack everything, if that makes a little sense. Yeah, that's okay. Alright, just like that. And I'm pushing it around as I do that so it pulls that nice and tight. When I come back around this side, this will be pushed up more like this, and I'm going to be securing it further there onto that. right. Again, grabbing some of the lining every time I come around. Along the top, I try to make sure they're tighter stitches. When you're going along the outside, it's not quite as necessary because I'm really torquing on this. I'm making it nice and tight. This thing really does not, that cording doesn't move that much. But along the top, we don't want to be able to roll that twist. That is the other reason why it is so nice to have this interfacing in here, is because you can get your twist nice and tight without making your, and I'm going to kind of roll that in as I'm going, without, you can get it nice and tight without making it bunch. Oh, okay. Always got to watch that you're not coming out on the front side or on the opposite side. Okay, there it goes. There were times where I was putting my needle through and grabbing, coming out just enough on the outside that you could see the thread as you pulled it through. There's like this little doot of fishing line. Not on this piece, but I have done it in the past. Or on the inside where you don't really see that your needle has gone through in another spot. It's not fun to have to cut it, undo it. Okay, make sure you're not pulling so tight that you're rippling the top of your material, your needle point. What happens is as you pull this around like this and you're rolling it, it tends to have this cording roll in like that, and it makes a nice top. Now as you get to this corner, you want to do the same thing that you've been doing all the way around on any corners, and make sure that you have lots and lots of tacking it down so it doesn't lift and you see things you don't want to see. As in this, the interior, this cording here, you want to make sure that it kind of doesn't show. I want to make sure that this comes down and covers. So we're going to twist it a little bit less. Bring this out like this. Okay. Make sure that where we're pulling it down, it's going to pull it tight but not show our fishing line. Right? Like that. Okay. It should pull that over a little. Yep, that pulled that lining over against there further. Okay. All right, come here. Yeah, that looks right. We're going to tack that to here. To here. Pull it through. Just beyond. Sorry, I'm dealing with that glue again. Necessary evil. And as always, this just happens to be how I do it. Other people may look at it and go, oh, wow, you're doing that the hard way. Well, it works for me. Right, so that's nice and snugged down. And I'm going to grab here. It's nice to try to come up between where you did your lining, your lining stitches. Okay, careful that this doesn't pull too hard and pull away from those spots you want to cover. Okay, it's okay. Excuse me. Okay. Back. Without. There we go. Alright. So here's our loop. I am going to spin it. So that the loop is like that. I'd like for it to tuck in behind it. I think I can do it. Let's give it a shot. So close to the end. Grabbing a little here. Tie it off like this. Make it a little past it. Give it just a little lead to shove down in there. Make it too close, you could potentially see the top of your area. And, you know, if you try to just tape it instead of gluing it, what happens is when you try pushing it into the hole, the tape collapses, it's all mush, and it's just a pain. Give it a second to cool a little. Okay. Alright. Now I want to trim this as far down as possible. Sometimes when you trim this, don't cut your fishing line. That's never a good thing, because it can unfurl if you didn't get glue all the way up in here, which right there I can see that that doesn't have glue on it. So I'm just going to seal that off a little because I don't want it to I want to really be able to kind of torque on it if I need to get it into this area where I would like it to be. Okay, twist it there. I'm going to just take this, stab it in so I don't fling it all over the place. Right, so I'm going to try to insert it on the back side. Come on. Just keep trying to work it in there. Not sure if there's enough room. Oop. Okay. Did I just rip that stitch? No. Oh, I have to take my little insert out to give there more room to the... Oh yeah, we can get that in there. Sure. Kelly, why not? And these videos where they just make everything look so super easy. Yeah, no. I'm showing you everything because I don't believe in not showing you how everything could potentially either go wrong, go right, make you crazy because it looked so simple when they did it. Okay, so this came up on this side. So what I'm going to do is, I know I didn't grab my lining. I'm pushing that back a little. I'm going to slide this needle under. Okay, I'm not grabbing any of the lining at this point. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my lining here. I'm going to come up in front in the lining again, like that. And now I'm going to go between like this. Probably caught a little red there. I did. I can see that. I am trying to go between the white and the red as much as possible. I'm pulling this straight through. Okay. And I'm gonna go in to the fabric just underneath, and I'm going to come up, pull this back a little. Oops. Here. Okay. I'm going to go between these two. All right. And then I'm going to use this chance to come between this red and white. Okay. Down like this. And I'm going to stab through this red one. Okay. Yep. Just like that. And I'm going to come through to my needle point, if I can get in. There we go. Okay, like that. Why did I do that? It cinches this, locks it in place, right? And now, because I've come on the front side of this, I can go through here, try to wheedle through and put it between as much as possible. Now this pulls this tight over against the other cording. Okay. Now you might think, okay, this is just a lot. Why are we, why can't I? Well, you don't have to do it this tight if you don't want to. But I'm showing you how I do it because as a professional finisher, I try to make sure that when you get your piece, number one, it's going to last a very long time. It's not going to fall apart on you, last generations. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is to have heirlooms for your family to enjoy. So you don't want them falling apart or cording pulling apart or any of that stuff. I'm going to bring it back up between these cords. Now it's all loose right now. I haven't pulled that one tight. Where is it? There. I'm going to come in here because I'm going to hide my knot here. Okay. All right, so everything's pulled nice and tight. Yep, that's okay. And I'm grabbing a little bit of the lining and just trying to, yep, there we go. I'm gonna knot, so I'm pulling it tight so that this stays nice and tight. Loop it twice. Sometimes it's hard to angle these curved needles. Loop it twice. Okay. I'm going to pull this cording over really wedging on it there. Okay, so now I'm keeping this tail for a minute. All right. Okay, so looks good on the front, looks good on the back. Not seeing any major boo-boos. So now I'm going to put our little angel in here, right? Okay, here she is. Oh, she's so cute. Isn't she adorable? So now our tail is here. And what I do is I only whip stitch through the front, so that if you wanted to stick a little candy cane in the back, or a little, little treats go in there, a little gift certificate or something like that, you can still fit something in here, but this little stuffy isn't going to get lost. So I'm going to go in to my lining, okay, like this. I'm sorry if you can't see it very well. And then I'm going to come out, there we are, and I'm going to try to put it right under the cording without grabbing any of the cording, okay, like that, and through. All right, and then it's hard on the navy to see. You're going to go right back in, and you want to do it right under the cording through the needle point. Now my curved needle is going in through the angel. All right, ow, and back out through your needle point, but under. Not quite getting it as far under as I want. One more stitch back. Okay. All right. Like that. Okay. Now I'm going to put this back in through, pull my cording back forward, back to where I want it to stay. All right. And here it is right here. And I can grab the underside. I'm going to switch my needles to a small needle. Okay, like this, which allows me to come up nice and tight when I do this. I'm grabbing just a little bit. I change plans. Here we are. I'm going to go back in through the cording, okay? You know, everything you do is different. I know it doesn't maybe make sense, but every time I do something, I have some challenge. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come into my cording, basically act like I'm tacking it down one more time, right? And I'm going to come out over here, under, between the two pieces. Okay, like that. Pulled up a little bit of waste canvas when I did that apparently. Oh, Must be a schniblet that was just stuck in there. Okay. All right. So we're here. Remove this out of the way. I'm going to come in here, grab a little tiny bit of this. I'm trying to grab just a little bit of needlepoint, but it's really not having it. So I'm grabbing a little fabric. 1, 2 around there, holding and pulling it taut. Okay, gotta manipulate my cording back to where I want it a little bit. See, that's why I don't usually do that, because I don't always like that, but I think it works better for this one. There, yeah. And then that's twice. Where am I? Slide it back under that knot again. Try to just grab the knot. I know, it's painful for me too, watching me do this. 1, 2, lock knotted down. Now again, I gotta smooth that cording down a little because I pushed it back up with my finger and the needle. Now, you can just pull it through a stitch on the front side, or, ow, I can just put my needle through and come up between the two materials like so. Okay. Adjust you a little in there. See, she's still a little adjustable even. Okay. Now we come to the back side, and without cutting any of our other stitching or our material, cut it. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty centered. I'm gonna nip off a little bit of fluff there from my thread. All right, nice and smooth on the back and on the front. And that is how I do a bowless piece. Oops, I moved my camera, sorry. I hope you could see most of that. Well, I hope this helps, and good luck.